Take a minute, let it settle in. You probably never saw it coming. Something's gotta give, so I give up you. Oh, there's no room for you here, yeah, I've had enough. The no vacancy sign on my heart is lit up. In case you didn't hear it, here it is again. Oh, fear you don't own me.
And welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back with you once again. This is Carol Moulton with Tea Time with Carol, and I am so pleased that you're here with us once again, where I'm pouring the tea and you're sipping the tea, and we are just going to have a wonderful 1 hour together. Let me back up for a second. You were listening to the breakup song, and which is our theme song, because we are breaking up with fear and all the ways that fear shows up in our lives and stops us from being the wonderful geniuses that God has created us to be. So I want you to pull up a seat, get comfortable. I've fluffed up the pillows, so if you want to sit on the floor, but just come on, get close, and just get ready for a wonderful 1 hour with me and my guest today. And speaking of her, we have I didn't reveal her name. It wasn't a secret, but I just wanted you to come on in and be surprised at the gift that we have for you today. And the gift is Miss Letitia Green, who hails all the way from Richmond, Virginia. She is somebody who is doing so many things that I'm breathless just even looking at all the things that she's into. But the things that she's into all concern mindfulness and spirituality, and she's doing a lot of things that I think you will find very, very interesting. So we're going to be chatting with her for a bit and finding out the how and the why and how she got to where she is, and I think that there are lessons for all of us in that. So I want to welcome her in right now. Tisha, are you here with me?
Hey, yes I am. Thanks for having me.
Sure, thank you, and welcome. Come on in. And if you would share a little bit about you, and I want to spend a lot of time just talking about you and how you got to the place where you are today. I think that we learn so much from hearing each other's stories, and there is so much gold. There's so many little nuggets in there. So I know that you were born in New York, and you came to Virginia when you were about 6, and you're still there and doing a lot of really, really interesting things there. But talk to us a little bit about your journey and how you traveled so far in such a short time.
Oh, wow. It's like where to really start at. Well, it was interesting in the beginning when you said she does so many different things. And that's something that I've actually kind of been battling with, because my journey has been so out there and with so many different things. But it really does kind of all tie into one thing where I like to say I give people permission to be themselves. And how I start that is by being myself. And that's really been my whole journey. Like you said, I was born in New York, and I came to Richmond, Virginia. I'm still here. But in between that time, I moved back to New York. I joined the military, so I was in Georgia, but I always made my way back to Virginia. You know, Virginia's kind of like that home. But when you say that short period of time, that's actually what stemmed from losing my best friend on December 29th, 2017.
Wow.
You want me to start from there, or
sure?
You know my stories.
I sort of labeled this as from grief to inspiration, And in talking to you, it seemed like that was a big turning point for you. And so I think, many of us have lost loved ones, and I don't know if we all know how to use it. Some of us, I hear people talking sometimes where they've lost somebody particularly close to them, a mom or, a sibling that they were very close to, and they're still stuck in it. And so I think the gift that you can share with our listeners today is how to transform that grief into something that other folks can use.
Oh, absolutely. So my best friend, her name is Gloria. We've been best friends. We've been best friends for a little over 22 years. So not only was she my best friend, she was my ex-sister-in-law. So I was married to her brother at one point. I have 4 kids, but 3 of them are her nieces and her nephews. So she's also the godmother. So she's like my sister. Like, there's a lot of titles, to really sum up, like, that's really was my best friend. And I got a very disturbing text message that day, and it was actually from my daughter. And it said, "Please pray for Titi." And that's what they call her, Titi. And she chose that because there's a lot of them, the siblings, and she wanted to make sure that she was different. So she's like, okay, you guys are going to call me Titi. And it said, "Please pray for Titi." And I was waiting for something funny behind it. Like, because she's crazy, because she said this or she said that. But then the next text that came was, "She's unresponsive." And my heart I was on the phone with someone, and I was, like, reading the text message out loud, and, and he was just quiet, and I was like, "Titi is Gloria." And he was like, oh. And I was like, I got to go, So in my mind, unresponsive means, okay, you can still do something, do CPR, right? So they can become responsive. And so I was still kind of waiting for that, and it didn't make any sense. And I ended up calling her brother because I really wasn't sure what was going on. And he just bust out crying. He was like, "Gloria's gone." So my response was, "Are you sure?" Because, again, none of this made any sense. I just talked to her. She wasn't sick, So nothing made sense to me, at all. But she wasn't here. And my whole world, at one point I want to say that it turned my world upside down. But in this present moment, I know that it brought it right side up. So in that, I was devastated. Like, nothing made sense to me at all. I questioned everything. I questioned everybody. I questioned God. I didn't want people telling me, oh, God needed another angel, and that's why he took her, because I was like, well, that's super selfish, and that doesn't make any sense. So I was angry, and I was confused, and I was just hurt. And I was selfish. I went through the phase of being selfish because, she's my best friend, and there was something recently that I was going through, and I only, shared it with her, and she helped me. But who was going to help me now with that same situation, So I went through all these different phases, and I talked to her sister one day, and her sister told me that she had spoke to a psychic, a medium, because she wanted questions herself too, and she was all into that. At that time it was like that, that woo-woo stuff, right? And she was telling me that this lady knew so much stuff that there was no way that she could be making it up. And a little backstory to that, I grew up with, my grandmother seeing, like, spirits and the dead and, energy and candles and, all of that stuff. I grew up with that, all of that. But I was afraid of it because I was afraid of the unknown, and I didn't want any parts of that. But when she was telling me all this stuff, I said, give me her number. I wanted to hear something, from my best friend so bad that I was willing to go over to the unknown, something that I had wanted no parts to. And it led me to, her name is Jessica, and she's a spiritualist, she's a medium. And that conversation I had with her just opened everything up. So a lot of the questions that I had and the things that didn't make sense was kind of starting to make sense, to me. So I was just taking everything in. So, and when I say, like, some of the questions that I was having or asking myself or whoever would listen was, there has to be more to life than this, because this doesn't make any sense. My best friend was 39, and she's married with 3 kids under the age of 5, and I just talked to her and she's not here. Like, what is this thing called life? Is this what happens? You know, so I had all these questions, and one of those main questions was, is there more to life than this? Mm-hmm. And her, I like to say, like, through the loss and the pain of losing her is where my awakening started, where I actually was able to start seeing, yes, there is more to life than just the mundane, just the existing. And that's what started this process.
That is, you know, that is so interesting. One, that you were able to transition through those different stages, because I think sometimes people get to one stage or another and then get stuck there. But you really turned this into something, and as we go along, you'll talk more and more about, you know, the kinds of things that you're doing. But, you know, you were able to turn this into something so positive. You know, I'll just share with you one little story. You know, my mom passed last year in July, this past July, and you know, my mom was 92, 93, something like that, and you know, she had been kind of ailing, but not bad. I mean, she looked fine. She did crossword puzzles. You know, she was eating, the day before she died, she was eating a grilled cheese sandwich. You know, we all thought she was getting better. And, you know, so after she passed, I was sort of pondering, you know, the whole thing. And one night I had this dream, and it was kind of funny. I dreamt that my grandson was with me, and the phone rang, and it was my mother. And she sounded so young and so good. And she said, "Baby, I'm having the best time. This is great." And she went on talking, and it really wasn't a conversation. She was just talking. And I didn't get a chance to really say anything, but I held the phone so that my grandson could listen, you know, at the same time, because I said nobody will believe that, you know, my mother's dead and I'm talking to her, you know, and she's talking like this, so I wanted a witness, you know. And she went on talking about, you know, all this stuff, and then she said very abruptly, she said, "Oh, there's so-and-so, I got to go." And she hung up, and that was it. And when I woke up laughing, you know, and it was a comfort to know, and I believe that was real. I mean, it was so real. It was so vivid. I felt like that was my mother's message, that that everything was okay. And what struck me while I was listening to her was that she sounded like a very young woman. She didn't sound old. She didn't sound like there was anything wrong, and there was such a peace about her, and it sounded like she was busy. You know, she was busy. So that was a real comfort, you know. That was a real comfort. And so, you know, that was sort of ended any grieving period that I had, because I was like, well, she's cool. You know, she's fine.
Good, right? Right?
Good.
I love that.
Good. You know?
I love that.
You know, I think that because it is unknown, a lot of times we approach death as this terrible, but, you know, if you know anything about energy, you know that energy doesn't go away. It just changes form, you know. And so if you consider us as forms of energy, then you know that when we transition, we just transition to another form of it, you know. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So you don't have to be scared.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because that's the one thing that we are guaranteed to do in this physical lifetime, and that is to physically die. Not like forever, but our physical sense. It's something that we know is going to happen, yet we're devastated when it does happen.
Yeah.
And I think a lot, in my opinion, I believe it's because we really don't talk about it. And so we only look like, oh, like the person died, and that's it. There's nothing else. But not a lot of people are really sharing like their stories and really talking about it to make you feel, you know, comfortable, or I like to say people act like, grief is a one size fits all, and it's not.
Right. No,
it's not. I mean, it's not.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and and I don't mean to make light of anybody else's, struggle with it, but it was just, I had a difficult relationship with my mom while she was in the physical. Although I know that she wanted the best for me, we did not see eye to eye on any number of things, but I felt like that dream put a positive spin on the whole relationship, because she came to me, to say she was okay. She didn't go to my brother, she came to me,
Yeah. And that's comforting to know, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
so
like you said,
Go.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like you said, we're definitely not making light of any of it with, people in their grief, because it is a process. And I myself, like I briefly touched on, I went through all the different phases. I still have my moments, Someone was like, oh, what's your healing like? I said, well, I heal by teaching. I teach others. That's how I heal. And I don't think that I'll ever actually heal. Things will just get better and just manage. But I still have my moments, and just like everyone, has their different, their moments. Some are longer than others. But I like to just say to people, try everything, because there is no one size fits all. My son has this song that he did in memory of Gloria Titi, and there's a part in it where he says, what's the recipe? He had no clue. He's like, what's the recipe? And that really stood out to me, because there is no recipe. And like he's saying, he's like, what's the recipe? Nobody can give me the recipe of how can I heal, you know what I'm saying, my broken heart. How can I get past this? And I'm like, because there is none. It's not a one size fits all. There's going to be days where you just cry and break down. And I say, do it. Let that out. Don't keep those emotions and those feelings inside, because, it doesn't have anywhere to go, and it forms into something else. If you're angry, have your little moment, but you control it, just go through, try everything, whether it's counseling, whether it's hypnosis, whether it's journaling, try everything, because you may have to use a little bit of everything to help, you'll never get over it, but just to get through it and make each day a little bit better than the day before.
Now, you mentioned something just now that I'd like to go back to. You said try hypnotism, and that's something that I don't think folks in our community know a whole lot about, other than maybe seeing a magician on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you would talk a little bit about what is, I know you're certified in that, but talk about what it is for real, and how you use it. Absolutely. And how would you use it for someone who is grieving?
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So hypnosis, in the lamest terms, is just a state of deep relaxation. That's all that it is. It's not all this woo-woo stuff that everybody thinks it is. It's just a state of deep relaxation. So we have our ego, and we have our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is the most powerful part of ourselves. Operates about 90% of our day. Only about 10% is conscious. Everything else is subconscious, which is where everything lies. Everything lies in our, subconscious mind. So with hypnosis, when we, I myself is putting someone into a deep relaxation, I'm just guiding you to relax so that the ego is pushed aside. So we can talk to the subconscious mind. We can figure out what's going on. Where's the underlying pattern? Where's that belief system? What is it that's holding you back? Because it's not conscious, it's in your subconscious mind. So even when you're going through dealing with grief, it is allowing you to relax. What is the real pattern, or what are you afraid of? When it comes to with losing someone, is it because this person was XYZ to you? Because it goes deeper than losing the person, because a lot of people feel like they lost themselves. like when that person is gone, they lost themselves. But we didn't lose ourselves. That person was a part of us, and it's not to downplay anything. Gloria was my everything. I'm everything to everybody else, and that was my person. That was my go-to. So it's definitely not to downplay. She was a huge, huge, huge part. But I am still here, and I do still, have time, like on here. So when we're going through hypnosis, it's allowing you to relax so we can relax your mind. Because right now, when you're going through grief, like you are confused. Like I was confused. Nothing made any sense. You were angry. You were sad. You were mad. But if I can guide you into that relaxation, it'll allow all that to calm down. It'll allow all that to calm down. And then talk to me. It's like, what's going on? Are you afraid of death? Or are you feeling lonely? Like because everybody's different. So during that session, we will be able to get to the root of things, because now we're able to relax your mind and get rid of all the noise and stuff.
Well, the noise is like constant. But that is so interesting, because yoga and meditation kind of do the same thing, or have the potential to, I think. To quiet, just to get so quiet that you can, that what's there can really come up, because
absolutely.
I don't know if everyone is really aware of how much the internal chatter goes on. You're making judgments, and there's this voice that's just nonstop in your head, like 24/7. From the time you wake up, it's, you're thinking about, well, what am I going to cook for dinner? And I don't know. And so-and-so got on my nerves, and I'm going to cuss him out tomorrow. It's just on and on and on, and I don't know if we're always consciously aware of what we're thinking. The chatter is there, but we don't distance ourselves to look at it and to really become aware of it. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about? Where we can
so
mm-hmm.
Well, definitely. Okay, so, with mindfulness is to be present, to live in the present moment. Doing yoga, doing meditation will silence. We don't really necessarily like silence it, but it'll calm it down and get it quiet so you can allow things to come in. So when we're doing hypnosis, so I'm guiding you into that deep state of relaxation, right? But then I'm able to talk to your subconscious mind at that point. So say if a person, they do have a fear. So I'm talking to you. You are loved. You are safe. You are this, you are that. And it's just feeding the subconscious mind so that the subconscious mind know that you're okay. Like you are okay. So that's kind of the difference with it. So yes, we are calming it down and relaxing, but then also feeding the subconscious mind with whatever the underlying issue is. So if the person is going through grief and now they feel like they lost themselves and they feel like they're alone and they don't have anyone, like you're never alone. You are loved. You are safe. You are amazing. You are okay. You are whatever the issue is. It's now talking to the subconscious mind because we have to reprogram it. Like we have to reprogram it. And we don't really know where that underlying pattern, comes from. Is it something that, happened when you were 8 years old? So especially people, I've had, a client who, was grieving, and that was a big thing because they feel alone. And then because of hypnosis, it came out that they've always felt alone, except for this one person that was in their life made them feel like they mattered.
Wow.
And now that person wasn't here. So that was the underlining thing. Yeah. Okay, so let's work on that. Why have you always felt like you were alone? That's what we have to do, because then when we're able to work through that, and to, to resolve that, to heal that, heal those, inner child, wounds, and they're able to deal with that, then the fact that they lost this person, it becomes a little bit easier to manage, or the days, because what it is now, they don't feel alone for whatever that underlying thing is, so it's always, and that came out through hypnosis. So that person, so they were grieving for this person because they are no longer there, but they were even more grieving for that person because that was the one person that made them feel like they mattered.
Wow.
So they were dealing with it on a whole deeper level.
Yeah.
And that's where hypnosis was able to help that person to understand, you know, why is it that you feel alone?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that comes through. And for that particular person, it went back to something from when they were 6 years old.
Wow.
And I can tell, I don't remember exactly what her age is, but I want to say she was like 48, 49.
Wow. Wow.
But been dealing with it since she was 6 years old. But that came through hypnosis.
That's interesting, you know, that she was able to, you know, make that connection to something that had happened so long ago. And a lot of times I think we dismiss, you know, those childhood hurts, you know, and think, well, I'm grown now, you know, and that happened in the past, and why can't I just move on? And, you know, you hear that from people a lot, you know, when they want to dismiss. But you see the patterns occurring, you know, and reoccurring in families. You know, when you don't heal those hurts,
Absolutely.
you know, the issues, you know, the quote is the issues of the father are visited. Well, it's actually the sins of the father are visited on the son. You know, but it's the same kind of thing. You see the same thing, the same patterns, you know, over and over and over again. So, in addition to grief, what else would you use hypnosis for? I mean,
oh my gosh. Hypnosis for everything. Hypnosis for people who want to lose weight, people who want to quit smoking. Just everything. Sports performance, anything you could possibly think of. If you quote, I'm doing air quotes over here, have an issue with that's showing up in your life, there's hypnosis for it because there's always an underlying pattern for it. So I did a talk at a daycare for some the workers, and I was just basically there was some, you know, work performances and things that were going on in the daycare. So I was brought in to have a talk and do exercise with them. Well, the second part of it that I did, I invited people to stay back if they wanted to participate in a group hypnosis session. So it was a lot. I had about, I think, 12 to 13 people that stayed back to do it. So I took them through a little mini guided one because everyone was different and we weren't really working on a particular matter. I just kind of did a general one. So I took them through to where I would talk them down into getting relaxed, like, you know, get comfy in your chair, close your eyes. You know, I guided them through it. It was a couple of things I said, like, feel your feet planted flat on the floor. Close your eyes are getting heavier and heavier. A lot of suggestion of that. And then I said, I said a part about being in a bubble and now you're going down these steps and, you know, just that thing to get them down. And then once they were in that state of relaxation, I do monitor the person. So if I'm working with you individually, I am looking at you. I'm looking at your breathing. I'm looking at your eyes just to make sure you really are relaxed, or do I have to take you down further? Because a lot of people have a lot of chatter in their head, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at everyone, and everyone's looking good. So because I'm not working on weight loss or fears or phobias, anything of that, it's just a general one, I just started feeding them with positivity. And it was like, you are loved, you are safe, you are comfortable, you are amazing, abundance is everywhere, you know, just positive stuff, you know, that everybody can benefit with. You are confident, you know, all of that stuff. So then, you know, I took them and I brought them back up. And when I say brought them back up, they know everything that's going on. And I said, you know, once I get to like 1, 2, 3, eyes open, wide awake. So I was like, welcome back. And then I was like, does anybody want to share? So a couple people shared, and this one girl was like, when you started and you said, you feel your feet flat on the ground, she said, I couldn't move. She's like, I could not move at all. And mind you, that was in the beginning of it. She said, I wasn't able to move until you said, you are loved, you are safe. And at this point, she's bawling, crying. She's literally like crying because that little bit of hypnosis for her was powerful. And it showed exactly what's going on in her life, why she's where she's at right now, and why she doesn't feel loved. She didn't feel safe. But I told her that she was loved and she was safe. And then she was able to move. But that whole time I was going through it, which was probably a good 9-10 minutes, she wasn't able to move. She couldn't do anything. And that was letting us know what her, issues or concerns are. And she was stuck. She was stagnant. She couldn't move until someone told her that she was loved and she was safe. And I do work with her now. And and we were able to, now I do, after that, she was just like, I need to work one-on-one.
Right.
She's like, I need to just do this, and I'm saying with her, and it's a very, deep thing, and she's really getting through it now. And it really hurt my heart, when I'm working with, individual people to see, that they've been going through this their whole life. And she's someone who's been in counseling for a long time, but she said she just never got anywhere.
The amount of pain that people are walking around with every day is just amazing to me. And what's more amazing is that I don't understand why we can't be more considerate towards each other, because we are all walking wounded.
Absolutely.
We're survivors, and it just hurts me to no end that we're so inconsiderate, and we don't have patience with each other. We're just very judgmental, and it's just I'm glad to know that that you're able to use this tool to really bring about healing. If you
Absolutely.
can't, not everybody finds healing in church. Churches sometimes inflict some pain. So, wherever you can find it, that's I think a good thing, a really good thing. So
that's why I said people try different things.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, how does that distinguish from you being a mindfulness practitioner? What's the distinction there?
Mindfulness is not just, I don't want to downplay it, but it's teaching you to to be in the present moment, to be in this moment right now. So if I'm doing, prime example, I'm doing this interview with you now, and you're talking, am I really listening? Am I really hearing you? Or am I thinking about, as soon as I get off of this call, what I'm going to eat for dinner? And that's what we all do. So mindfulness is teaching you to be present, live in the present moment. Just think about what's going on right now, which is this interview. I'm not going to think about a bill or something that's due 2 weeks from now. Why am I focusing into the future on that versus the present moment? What's going on right now? So that's what mindfulness is. I do it from kids ages 2 up until people in their 60s.
Wow.
It's teaching you to calm, down, which goes into the meditation. And people are like, well, I have too much stuff going on in my head. I've tried to meditate and I just can't. I can't do it. I can't silence my mind. I said, this is where we stop. What it is you get quiet, and as those thoughts pop into your head, acknowledge it and let it go. So if it pops in your head while you're trying to, meditate, and it's like, oh, I'm going to cook chicken, say, yes, I'm going to cook chicken, and let it go. It'll go away.
Yeah.
As it comes, let it go away. Just let it go. It's something away. So that's where the whole mindfulness, comes in. Now, the hypnosis is we're actually working on something. So, yes, we are getting that, you relaxed and getting there. And then we are working with that, that issue, whether we're replacing certain things. If it's someone smoking, it's like every time you see a cigarette, it makes you nauseous or whatever, replacing it with something so you don't want that. Or, my most recent thing that's been picking up is past life regression therapy. We're literally taking people back. That's what people are coming there like, you know what? Yes, there's these patterns that keep popping up, but I know it's from something from a past life, and these are people who do believe in, in past life. So I'm taking them. So I go through a hypnosis where, I take them back to, depending on certain things that they're saying, and if say something for Egypt, and I say like, okay, so now we're going back, and we're back into, this time frame. I won't even say Egypt, but it's like, 19 whatever I say for them. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I say 1940s, and I say, okay, so you're in a movie theater, and there's a bunch of costumes and stuff on there. Like what do you see? And like, what costume are you putting on? And they'll say like, oh, I'm putting on this, a tiara, or I'm putting this on. Okay, well, what do you see down on the ground? Like, oh, I see this. I see that. And I'm writing down, what they're saying. So the thing is that they're describing where they're at and what this is. So it's taking them back into that past life. And again, the subconscious mind, our mind itself is calm and it's relaxed. So now we're able to tap into that because you're not consciously thinking like, oh, I'm going to make this story up. And so we have you relaxed. The ego is gone to bed. The ego is put to the side. And now let's talk to the subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind knows exactly what everything is. Everything, is.
That is so interesting. I have a friend at work who is Hindu. He's Indian. And he's told me more than once that he knew me in a past life. He has said that to me several times, that he knew me in a past life. He just came up to me. That was one of the first things he told me. And the funny thing is I developed this affinity, I guess I'll call it, for India. Where I started watching Bollywood movies. That's where it first started, and I just I felt very connected to Bollywood. And it wasn't all about the singing and dancing, but it was about the culture, and it was everything. And so then I don't know. Somehow I started meeting a lot of Indian people. I ended up going to India in 2014. And before I went, I had this real phobia about flying. And after I went to India, I don't have the phobia anymore. I can fly anywhere and it's fine. But I guess after you fly 15 hours, it's like, hey, what the heck?
Absolutely, yeah.
But, when I was there, I felt like I was at home. And I have had the desire to go back. And I intend to go back for much longer. I was only there for a week, and that I didn't have a chance. I was working, so I didn't really have a chance to do much of anything, really. But I plan on going back and staying for a longer period and, really seeing more of the country. So now I've got, and I started studying Hindi also. That was the other thing. I started studying Hindi, and I had a Hindi tutor, and her family has adopted me, and my other friend's family has adopted me, and it's very interesting how it has kind of, evolved. But I do feel like there's something there, and I don't know why, I don't know what that's about, but I just feel very, very drawn to India for whatever reason. So maybe that's...
Yeah. Well, that's how that works. And for me, like, my story is a little similar to you, but mine was from Egypt, that I knew that there, after, Gloria's passing, like I said, with my awakening, all my eyes were just, like, wide open. So there were so many things that were in front of me that I'd never seen before. I'd never seen it before. Like, I wasn't, I was too caught up in life and all the chaos and all the noise and stuff that I didn't see what was right in front of me. But Egypt started just really, really popping up, and it was just everywhere. And I was like, there's just something with, with Egypt. And it did come up that it was a past life in Egypt. And it was so strong. And I was like, I'm going to Egypt. And I went, I went last November. I went to Egypt. And just like how you said you felt like at home, that's how I was like, I'm home. I'm here. I'm here. I rode a camel for the first time. I have the videos of it, and they were all laughing, and they was like, do you do this all the time? I was like, oh, I totally did this in another lifetime. Like, they didn't have to help me in, like, anything. And then when people see, they're like, oh, my God, like, that was your first time? I'm like, that was my first time this lifetime. I was like, I've done it before plenty of times, just not now, And I felt at home, too, and I was like, okay, and I know that there's a lot more to the Egypt in that lifetime where these certain things were popping up into my life now that have something to do with, Egypt in my lifetime there, whether it's something that, karma or a lesson that I had to learn so I could send it away or whatever, it's, connected to it. And that's what been popping up lately for me with clients was the past life regression therapy, where they're like, okay, I got to figure this out. Why am I so, afraid of this?
Uh-huh.
Why am I so afraid of that? Like, or why do I have such a soft spot for animals?
Mm-hmm.
And then things that come out is in another lifetime, they were horrible to animals.
Oh.
And in this lifetime, it's the opposite, of there. So a lot of different things can come out of like hypnosis. But a question that everybody, not everybody, a lot of people ask, like, well, how do I know that I didn't just make that up? I'm like, are you like a storyteller? Are you like this author? Like, really, why would you just make that up?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you, when you're in hypnosis, just make that up? Like, no, this is coming from the subconscious mind.
That is so interesting.
Just roll with it.
Wow. That is, and I guess what you're saying is you don't have the filters of your conscious mind to be able
to
make
that up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because right now, if I'm not doing hypnosis, we're not relaxing, we're just talking, and then you say, okay, so tell me about this. You're consciously thinking about it, and you're making up stuff. Like, you're making up this story, right? But that would be you just making it up. But
right.
If I'm saying to you, well, what do you see right now? You're going to tell me what you see in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
If you close your eyes and say, what do you see right now? You're going to probably start naming the things that was just in front of you because you're consciously trying to think.
Right.
But it's one thing if now you are relaxed, and we're tapping into the most powerful part of ourselves, which absolutely is our subconscious mind. And even for like people who are listening now, and if they don't, don't want to believe in hypnosis, I'm like, we go through it all the time. Another form of hypnosis is when we are driving, and say we're going from our house to work, and you're just driving. Then all of a sudden you get to work, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember going through the light. Like, did I run the red light? And then people will laugh it off, and I'm like, that's called autopilot. Your subconscious mind knew exactly how to get you where you were going safely, while your conscious mind was thinking about, oh my God, I've got to go to work and I got all this work to do. So you were consciously thinking about all the stuff that you have to do, but your subconscious mind knew exactly how to get you from home to work and get you there safely because it's been there before.
That happens to me like every day.
Exactly.
That's just about
you're on autopilot.
Yeah.
It's another form of it.
And some days it's particularly bad, and I'm like, I don't even remember driving. I remember getting in the car, and I know I pulled out, but I was so far removed from whatever was going on. I was like in another world altogether.
And which brings back to the mindfulness, because we're not in the present moment. Yeah. In the present moment, you would just be driving the car and just making sure everything like around you, so you wouldn't be thinking about the things that you have to do later or something that happened, yesterday or whatever the case is. And this is where we practice the mindfulness so we can be in the present moment and focus on it's right here. But we can do mindfulness everywhere. Mindfulness eating. How many times that you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, I didn't eat today. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, I did eat. You didn't remember that you ate because you weren't even focused on eating. You went through it so fast while you were doing 5 other things that you don't even remember that you ate. That's again. So now, and it's a conscious effort for me when I used to like to eat my food and check emails and make phone calls because I call myself multitasking. But I'm like, this is crazy. This is my time now. So I'm like, I need to just sit here and eat my food, and that's it. Not checking anything else. Just eat my food and enjoy my food. So I have to consciously do that.